I've always been the kind of person who needs a logical explanation for everything. I don't jump to conclusions, and I definitely don't believe in anything paranormal. Even now, after everything that happened, I'm still trying to convince myself there's a reasonable answer. But the more I think about it, the less sense it makes. This happened about a month ago when I agreed to stay at my cousin Daniel's house while he was out of town. He had just moved into this newly renovated place on the outskirts of town. Quiet, isolated, the kind of place where you don't hear much of anything at night. He asked me to watch his cat for a couple of days. Nothing complicated. The first night was completely normal. I ordered food, watched TV, and went to bed around midnight. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, but I didn't think much of it. Around 2:30 in the morning, I woke up to the sound of something dragging across the floor downstairs. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then I heard it again. A slow, heavy scraping sound, like furniture being moved inch by inch. I sat up in bed, listening. The cat, which had been sleeping at the foot of the bed, suddenly lifted its head and stared at the door. Its ears were pulled back, completely alert. That's when I knew I wasn't imagining it. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, slowly opening the bedroom door. The hallway was empty. The house felt colder than it had before, like someone had opened a window somewhere. I made my way downstairs, trying to be quiet. The sound had stopped, but the silence felt wrong, like something had just been there a second ago. When I reached the living room, nothing was out of place. The couch, the chairs, everything looked exactly the same. I stood there for a minute waiting to hear something again, but there was nothing. I told myself it was just the house settling, old pipes maybe. I went back upstairs and eventually fell asleep. The next day was completely normal. No weird sounds, no strange feelings. I almost forgot about it entirely. That night, I stayed up later, just in case. Around 2:30 again, almost like clockwork, the sound came back. This time, it was louder. Not just scraping, but something hitting the floor. A dull thud, followed by that same dragging sound. The cat bolted off the bed and ran out of the room before I could even react. I didn't want to go downstairs. Every instinct I had told me to stay where I was, lock the door, and ignore it. But I couldn't just sit there not knowing what was happening. I went down again, slower this time. The moment I stepped into the living room, I noticed something immediately. One of the dining chairs had been pulled out. Not slightly, completely moved, like someone had been sitting in it. I froze. I knew for a fact I hadn't touched it. Trying to stay calm, I walked over and pushed the chair back in. That's when I noticed something else. The back door was unlocked. I was sure I had locked it earlier that night. I even remember checking it before going upstairs. My heart started racing. I checked the rest of the house, closets, bathroom, every room. Nothing. No sign of anyone. I locked the door again and went back upstairs, but I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, I called Daniel and asked if anyone else had access to the house, spare keys, neighbors, anyone at all. He said no. Then he hesitated for a second and said, "That's weird." I asked him what he meant, and he told me that when he first moved in, he thought he heard noises at night too. Same kind of sound, dragging, things shifting. But it stopped after a while, so he just assumed it was nothing. That didn't make me feel better. I decided to stay one more night, mostly because I didn't want to overreact. I told myself if anything else happened, I'd leave. That night, I didn't go to sleep. I stayed downstairs with all the lights on, sitting on the couch, waiting. Nothing happened for hours. I started to feel stupid, like I had overhyped everything in my head. Around 2:30, right on time, I heard it again. But this time, it wasn't coming from another room. It was coming from right behind me. A slow, scraping sound, just inches away from the couch. I didn't move. I couldn't. Then, very softly, I heard something else. Breathing. Not loud, not aggressive, just slow, steady breathing, like someone standing directly behind me. I turned around. There was nothing there. But the indentation on the couch cushion next to me was slowly sinking in like someone had just sat down. I didn't stay another second. I grabbed my keys and left the house right then and there. I haven't been back since. Daniel says he hasn't noticed anything unusual since he returned, and everything in the house is exactly how I left it. But I know what I heard. I know what I saw. And the part that keeps me up at night isn't just that something was there. It's that whatever it was, it knew exactly when I'd be awake to notice it.